Test Drive is a game series that not many people talk about today, but back in the 90s, Test Drive was an adequate competitor to the Need for Speed series. Or was it? Hello everybody, my name is 32-Bit Bailey and welcome to another review. Today we'll be taking a look at Test Drive 4 for the PlayStation 1. Let's get started. Test Drive 4. What about Test Drive 3? Or even 2? What about the original? Why are we starting here? Well, Test Drive began as an MS-DOS game back in the 80s, and I don't have a computer or a copy of the game to run it. I am aware that emulation is a possibility, but in all honesty, I'm not a fan of early PC gaming. And reviewing Test Drive 2 for the Sega Genesis will be saved for another time. So we're just going to skip the first 3 titles in the series. Test Drive 4 is your generic arcade racer where you're put in the driver's seat of a fast, modern, or vintage car and race in various locations around the world. Most games I've played, there is some kind of feature or gameplay mechanic that keeps me enthralled, but not in this game. From the first race to the last race, it's all the same. You drive from point to point and try to win, although winning was something I couldn't accomplish. Is that because the game's hard? Yes and no. It's hard for stupid reasons. This game does not test your ability of racing or your reflexes to act fast in a situation. It cripples you to the point where winning is the least of your worries. The traffic, unlike other games where it is placed sensibly, giving the player enough time to avoid it, they are placed in spots where you don't see them until it's too late.
Surprise, motherfucker!
Especially in places where roads cross. And someone had the smart idea to color the car the same color as the road! Why? This doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It's not like the headlights and taillights aid you in this situation, because they offer no help whatsoever. But nothing, and I mean nothing, could compare to the police in this game. If you pass a police car in this game, you're basically fucked. These bastards will chase you down, and if they manage to get in front of you, your car stops. That's right, it completely stops. They don't even have to slam you off the road, corner you, or even be near you. If they are in front of you, you stop until your car hits 0 miles an hour and then you can go again. And sometimes if you're really lucky, the cop will chase the other driver for a bit and then chase you instead. Very rarely did I ever see a rival get pulled over because they were too fast to be caught. One thing I check for in every racing game is rubber banding. For those of you who don't know what that is, it basically means you will never be able to gain any distance on your rivals, no matter how fast or good you are. But in this game, I wasn't able to check. Would you like to know why? Well, too bad I'm not telling. Got him. No, but seriously, it's because I was either getting arrested or hitting other cars. The cars control okay, but there is this crustiness to them that can be felt when cornering. In better words, you will turn really sharp on small turns, but your car becomes very stiff on bigger turns, causing you to smash into a wall and lose control. When you lose control, your car becomes a balloon. Gravity is turned off and all power to the vehicle is disabled. You can't recover once this happens, meaning you just let the car do its thing. Most crashes tend to last anywhere between 7 to 15 seconds. I honestly think this is too long, and a quick reset button would have been greatly appreciated. Credit where credit is due though, the crashes can be quite spectacular and are fun to watch. But when your opponents are right on your ass, it doesn't take long to go from second to last place. A lack of a damage model also makes the crashes kinda pointless, but we'll get to that later. There is 2 game modes, count them, 2 whole game modes. Race and drag race. Honestly, drag race is awful. The loading screens last longer than the actual event. I tried this mode once, laughed, and then went back to racing. There are a few championships, but they're really the same when it comes down to it. One thing the game does right is the tracks and car variety. Each track is a completely new adventure. One minute you're in the snowy mountains, next you're racing past where the annoying orange lives. There are 6 different tracks, which does not sound like a lot, but considering that each one is over 5 minutes long, I think it's a good trade-off. You can choose from 14 licensed vehicles, each with their own specs. I wouldn't say I noticed the difference between cars when it came to handling, braking, or acceleration, minus the Pitbull Special, which is a cheat code. Speaking of cheat codes, yes, this game has got them. Again, for people who don't know what cheat codes were basically extra content hidden after you were finished the main game. I think kids today call it DLC.
Sausage!
The cheat codes in this game are awesome. Reverse mirror tracks at nighttime, extra cars, turbo boost, RC cars, etc. If you are having fun with this game, unlike me, you'd be having slightly more fun. One thing a racing game needs is multiplayer. Does this game have it? No. Much like Destruction Derby 1, it requires 2 copies of the game, 2 systems, 2 TVs, and a link cable. In my opinion, this must have been some kind of tactic to make people buy more games and consoles. How'd that go, eh, Sony? Considering that you've only had the expansion pack the first few years of the PlayStation 1, not too good, huh? Also, side note, when looking up anything gaming, I get this garbage. Google, your algorithm is pure horse ass. The game looks alright. Nothing groundbreaking, but not awful. It's somewhere in the middle. The cars look great, having respectable detail complementing their real-life counterparts. Each track is very lively, with busy traffic, lots of buildings, and crowds of people. Even when you're not in the city, the farmlands, mountains, rivers, and other surrounding details make up for it. The traffic doesn't look good. It actually looks quite shit, in all honesty. They have this low poly stank to them. So, like, that stank you can smell across the room, but you really don't know where it's coming from. That's probably because the cars are the same color as the road! But for the speed you're going when you pass them, it won't affect much. That is what I would say if I wasn't hitting everything in a 40-mile proximity. The menus and UI are heavily inspired by the Need for Speed games, having a dark blue background and a very 90s take on what the future would look like. The icons can be a bit confusing on your first playthrough of this game, as every mode kinda looks the same. Even though they actually are. The audio in this game is downright awful. Some examples of this being sounds that only Daft Punk cats could make. Tires squealing on dirt, snow, and mud. And the soundtrack. Seriously, it sounds like half the band didn't show up and they just said, fuck it. The music is a mix of random noises to techno. Do you hear that? At first I thought this was an emulation issue, but no. This sound is in the original version as well. I'm not sure if it's a creative decision or a glitch that made it into the final, but it's annoying as hell. The announcer sounds like one of those college frat boys that's like a total bro.
3, 2, 1, go!
The cars all sound the same. That wouldn't be an issue if it didn't sound like a never-ending loop of a dog growling. And why does it sound like somebody's screaming when the tires squeal? Test Drive 4 was one of those games I grew up with, and it holds a lot of nostalgia for me, but I think it lacks polish. Not to today's standards, not saying much, but even when it first came out. I still play this game every now and then, but in all honesty, if I never played it as a kid, I probably wouldn't play it today. If you want to try this game, I got good news for you. This game costs as much as a sports game for the Sega Genesis, so you won't break the bank. Test Drive 4 gets a 48 out of 100.